Yeah. Well, we started off with button pushing because that's how this always starts. And this is about the only time when it's good button pushing.
Yes. That's a very, very good point. You know, before I forget, I want to bring up, Colleen, because I know Pride was a few weeks ago now. And this was the first year that you guys didn't have a booth for a lot of reasons. But I had a really interesting conversation last weekend. Well, the lesbian flotilla came to get me last Sunday. This is so funny. I'm sitting on my porch, my 3-season porch at my cabin, getting some work done, and my cell phone rings. And I pick it up, and it's one of my dear, dear friends, this group of people, and there's a whole pack of them up there that weekend having a good time. And she's like, Jody's like, hey, Kelly, we want to know if you can come out to play. And I look up, and there's 6 of them. We got 2 in paddle boards, 2 in kayaks, and another one in this little very cool electric boat that I covet. And they're like, come on out, let's get on the lake. And I'm like, fuck yeah. I don't want to work. I'm not going to work.
You were so outvoted there.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
It was so much fun. We were out on the lake literally all day long. But one of the interesting things, Pride came up, and they all said, God, you know, this was our first year that we didn't go into the fray. They got together, a very large group of them. They live in a really cool neighborhood in Minneapolis, and they did all these things. And I said, well, just tired of it, or, you know, what's the deal? And they said, you know, the last couple of years, what's really gotten us down, even though we love the whole thing and we made plans to celebrate, they said the protests have just ruined it for them. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And protesting gays? And they're like, no, it's other causes that have come there because they know there's going to be a ton of people that have sort of hijacked the event, held up the parade. Did you notice that in the last couple of years?
No. Well, the thing is we don't do the parade anymore.
Right.
We did the parade for 2 years. First year we won it, and then we got free entry into the next year, so why not? And then we decided we're too small to do the parade.
Okay.
You know, but you know, honestly, we went out on a high note. It was fun, but it's practically if you're at the beginning of the parade, you're practically doing your own 5K. You know, and if you're at the end of the parade, it's hours because you're waiting for it.
Yep.
And, you know, and I understand, you know, why folks are protesting because, I mean, Pride started out as a protest.
Yeah.
It's going through there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you sort of got to weigh this and, you know, that, but it you know, got eyeballs on things. And other people are saying, hey, what about us?
Yeah.
And I get but, you know, I can see that. And it's become sort of an all community thing.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, I mean, but we weren't out there because we're old and tired. We plan on being back next year, not doing the parade. We did have people call up and go, "Where are you guys this year?"
Oh.
So it was sort of good to feel loved. I was still on a vacation with my daughter.
Yep.
And I think everyone just it was good to have a weekend where I wasn't exhausting everybody.
Yeah.
But I do like it. But it has, you know, it's I mean, you have to admit, it's become mainstream.
Yeah.
And, you know, which is good. But then, you know, if you're mainstream, you're going to, you know, it does become a place for people that are marginalized to say, hey, look at me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I can see that.
Well, I'm like, wow, isn't that interesting? And what a great take. I mean, next time we're all sitting around having a beer, I'm going to throw that one out there because everybody was just, and really the discussion was more about how they planned and executed their own celebration, which was fine. But I was like, wow, protests interrupting Pride. I just, you know, was sitting there thinking about it.
You know, like I said, and I've never, the parade is, I mean, maybe because I participated in too many parades, seeing a parade is not, I'm like, I'm done.
Can I just tell you,
am so done with parades.
That is a super fun parade.
It is a super fun, it is a super fun parade. But I've just done so, it's not a, you know, and it's so long and, you know, cause they don't want to say no to folks. And, you know, and it's so, I remember one year for a different parade, they were trying to shorten the Aquatanian parade, so they didn't have any Shriners, but the Shriners still wanted to parade, so Hopkins said, come parade with us. I mean, if you've ever been to the Raspberry Parade, the downtown is not very long.
No.
So if you add, if you make the parade twice as long, I mean, it's practically backed up into St. Louis Park waiting to parade down things. I was doing the Renaissance Festival time. We sat on this one neighbor's lawn under a tree for 3 hours before we started going down because we were at the end of the parade.
Yeah.
And that was a year one gal I know, because I was very young at the time, went down the parade three times. Mm-hmm. She went down as a Renaissance Festival participant, as a Raspberry Princess participant, and as a Hopkins cheerleader.
Sweet.
She did the parade 3 times. that year. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, that is, I mean, my God, we're 17, at the time or whatever. So you have a lot of stamina, but oh my God.
That's funny. No, that's awesome. Well, and the Shriners are kind of a blast.
Yeah.
With the little mini bikes and the fezzes. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a fez?
No, yeah.
You got to have
fezzes.
I want a fez, actually. I'll have to put that on my Christmas list.
I actually, that's sort of a hat that I look good at. And there's only like baseball
Really?
hat. Baseball hats don't look good on me, but cloches and fezzes and, or it needs to have like a really big brim. It has to be no brim or a huge brim.
Yep.
But nothing, the in-between thing, especially since I cut off all my hair.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. I have hats that I was able to wear then that I can't wear now.
Aw.
Because I bought them to accommodate all of my freaking hair.
Sure. Yeah. It's funny. It is true. Some people can either look good in hats and other people, they just can't at all. I love hats. And the thing is, I just can never find enough occasions to wear them. I would love to wear them every day. Honestly, I think there's so much fun. So, but what?
I was like, so maybe we ought to get to the Great Northern Sex Cast.
I'm thinking. Well, okay. I want to start with a story about a very, very traumatic situation with a penis. And it had nothing to do with the guy doing anything stupid to it. And so let's say that this poor dude, absolutely. It's time to feel sorry for this 44-year-old guy. He had to go to the hospital. He's had a 7-year history. He's had a 7-year history of swelling in his penis and his scrotum. This story is out of Melbourne, Australia. And he's also got mobility issues because he'd had an old spinal cord issue. Okay. So, but the swelling, his balls swelled to 30 centimeters, which translates to 12 inches. 12 inches. Okay.
It's like basketball.
Yes. And the skin got really thickened and it buried his penis. They couldn't see it. His penis disappeared. Can you even imagine? So the testicles were undetectable. The glands of the penis was only palpable by introducing a gloved finger into the fold of skin from which urine emerged. Like they couldn't even find stuff. These things got so...
Wait, how could something get to that? Get to that point? I mean...
Yeah. Well, he said he never had sexually transmitted infections or surgeries or any of that kind of thing. So they had to literally take out a big chunk of his balls, which guys everywhere are crossing their legs and wincing in pain right now. And then they reconstructed it, but it was lymphedema.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's swelling. So there was a fluid buildup.
Yeah,
it happened to be instead of having circulatory problems like in your legs when you see people get your legs, this gentleman had it in his scrotum.
Yes.
Oh.
Can you even imagine?
And since I've never heard of that, I'm assuming that it's not, it doesn't, Google right up in the medical journals or anything like that.
Especially not in that area.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, so this guy gets all the sympathy in the world and our best wishes. He says it's changed his life. He's doing way better. Lots of things are working well.
They're good. They figured it out and were able to help him.
Now on to the curious 13-year-old boy who got a USB cable stuck up his penis. This is the guy where we go, really? But he's 13.
He's 13. Okay, we were all 13. We're all many ages. We're still ages now. And we are, hopefully folks are still curious because you never want to stop being curious. But but I don't understand.
I don't get it either because, was he trying to charge it? Let's go. Like, seriously, dude.
Okay.
What's the thinking here? It literally got tangled up in his bladder. And they had to do it got so far up there. He shoved it so far up there.
I don't understand. Oh my God.
Yeah, they had to operate. And that's about as much of the story that I can deal with because it's making me...
I wonder if it's like a fishhook where they have to go into his bladder and they snip off the end that's, because USB cables have, larger pieces on both ends. And then you have to pull it out through the bladder.
He cut one end off. Still, I'm just... I don't even have a penis, and I'm just freaking out right now.
There's just got to be something about... we've managed, several 100,000 years as, humans and all the, the primates that came before us and all that sort of stuff. And I'm just wondering, did Neanderthals, did they just
twigs.
Did they put too many things? Did they put things in their penises, or did they find random rocks and put them in their ass? I mean, is this a modern phenomenon? I mean, how long have people been wanting? Or maybe this, they were too busy not being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger to think about stuff like that.
You know what? You and I are getting a little scary. We've been doing this so long that I open my mouth and then you say what I was going to say. So it's like, okay.
So these are the folks that, the reason we know that certain mushrooms are poisonous is because these folks figured it out for us.
Yes.
That person ate that and we're not going to anymore.
He's stuck.
Oh, he's stuck. Oh, did he get his? Did he wander over around the? Yeah, there's a tiny gap.
Yeah,
but I think it is.
Fred, the studio dog, was crying. He did not have anything stuck up his penis, but he did get his leash caught on Colleen's desk, so we had to free the foo. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking. I think that this is a function. I think we probably started doing this once we started
2,000, 3,000. Greeks maybe.
They came up with all sorts of interesting
Romans,
shit.
ancient, Chinese have a 5,000-year-old culture, probably about,
Then they started getting modern conveniences and not being afraid of being eaten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then it's like, well, let me play with myself.
So so we're not just worrying about surviving. Right. There seems to be food and water. So let's see what we can stick up our asses and in our penises.
Yes. That's my theory.
Yeah.
And if there's cave and other types of porn, right? And so just saying. So here's an interesting article. I mean, there's the whole thing about the dangers of UV rays and wear sunscreen, but then you've got the people with the seasonal affective disorder lamps and whatever. So the sun is always a factor, but it's controversial, and it goes from side to side. This particular article claims that 1 hour in the sun will improve your sex life. And it goes.
Well, I'm going to go with if you're able to spend 1 hour a day, maybe you're relaxing and you're not crammed up in your office worrying about scrubbing your toilet, or whatever it is, or inside Target for the 47th time in that week for the one thing you keep forgetting to get.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's the vitamin D, and this author claims that this is often dubbed the sex vitamin, which helps people, both male and female hormones, replenish. And for all the good reasons that we need, women need estrogen and guys need testosterone, it's supposed to be helpful. But once again, there's skin cancer, there's all that other stuff. So be careful.
Yeah, no, sunscreen is good for the most part. I was with my daughter, who is a different ethnic heritage of mine. Is a lot darker than me, but I still slather her in the sunscreen because you put her in Minnesota where you're covered up and there's not a lot of sunshine for 7 months out of the year. She's not nearly as dark as folks from her native country.
Yeah,
she was done, and she gets a little red nose. We have to sunscreen her, and I put it on. But even myself with Italian heritage, I don't burn like folks with more northern heritage.
Oh, yeah.
I do as I get older because I'm not outside as much as I used to. But I still have to put it on my face because I burned horribly as a child. I actually had blisters on my face because we would not come out of the ocean when we were visiting our grandparents.
Oh.
And and that's before they had all this fancy stuff. So I went to the beach the next day looking like a mermaid because I just had zinc on my face.
Oh, sure.
But I was not coming out of that ocean. I loved it so much.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty fair skinned, but I'm lucky enough to where I can tan because of the Native American in our family. So I start out pink and then it goes into a nice color thing. But my mom and my sister are ridiculous. It's so weird how that works. And even how with all this ancestry DNA stuff, it's really weird that siblings are like, well, why should I do it? My sibling did it. But it can differ.
It can differ because you don't know what DNA you're getting. All those little sperms and all those little eggs are different. They're not identical. Otherwise, we'd all be identical.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And it also depends, and I think we've talked about this a little bit, which company you go to, because some companies have more folks from a certain area of the world, and so they can make a better guess. Some folks have less from that, so it's more vague. And it depends on who you are. And since finding out who your ancestors are is a very Western centric thing, there's going to be more information there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know for us, we're a family of immigrants, you know, and I think that's why I love asking people. I love hearing, well, how do you know people's kind of stories? And
I always figure, since half my family's from Sicily, and that was a port going between the Far East and Europe and Africa and all around there, that, you know, I probably have, you know, a little bit of a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. My friend Mary, who's Italian, actually has Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, or African, stuff like that. You're all going to have that because, you know, it was a major port.
Yep. And we all know what happens when people get off the boat. So this is funny. I love this one. This is the things that men want to hear most after sex. And this was a poll of 8,544. So this was a fairly significant.
Best orgasm ever?
You're the best I've ever had. That's the number one. And really encouragement was the theme. But the one that ranked still very high. Okay, let me read these to you because I'm going to crack up. Okay. So you're the best I've ever had. Gained 29% of the vote. Next up was let's do it again. At 22, but tied for number 2 was do you want a sandwich? Oh, God. That was awesome. Thought that was
sometimes a sandwich sounds really good. You've just expended an enormous amount of energy.
Yes. And we will post this on the Great Northern Sex
But that's what really, do it again, sandwich, do it again, sandwich.
Yeah, the sandwich can wait, you know, like there's any number of sources for sandwiches, but another round is not necessarily available at McDonald's. So I'm going to stick with do it again.
Oh, do you want a sandwich?
Yeah.
I put that on.
I couldn't wait.
I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
Do you want a sandwich? This one is a beauty. This woman had, how old was the kid? 6. Little girl, 6 years old. Mom's going about her business, gets a text from her kid's teacher that her daughter had brought her vibrator to school for show and tell. It's her funny little pen, and it was her rabbit vibrator. And the teacher thought it was hilarious. The kid had no idea what it was. And she said, you know, I did not know what to do. And the thing is she said, I must talk because it needs batteries. When she was giving her little dissertation about this the teacher was like so shocked and probably as an adult human, probably trying so hard not to piss herself laughing.
Yeah. And to find the appropriate way. That's nice. Why don't we go on to the next person?
Right.
Yeah.
Without calling
attention to, I mean, because it have to be done because if you freak out, then the kids are going to want to know what it is. I mean, you know.
Exactly. So can you just imagine like the balancing act that teacher did? But nobody got in trouble. And she said it's, you know, the little kid thought it was her funny pink pen. And she said once I got past the shock and apologized to the teacher. I found it was hilarious. And she goes, yes, it's humiliating, but it was, you know, needed to be shared on Facebook because it's that good. And I agree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just certain things like that. It's like, it's real. Nobody panicked. There wasn't like a petition against the school to make sure that that each kid was searched to make sure they didn't accidentally bring in their parents' sex toy. I mean, you know, nobody just, it sounds like everybody acted like grown-ups.
Amazing.
You know, the ones that we want to be, that we would like other people to aspire to be.
Yeah.
That we don't always manage.
Yes.
But it sounds like here, everybody managed.
Yes.
Nobody did any pearl clutching or hand wringing.
No. And everybody took it for the humorous thing that it was.
Life.
Moving on. Moving on.
Yep.
Boy, this is fascinating. There's this British man. He's 44 years old now. He was actually born without a penis. And that's a 1 in 20 million defect. He has testicles, but no penis. It's called bladder extrophy. And so, long story short, Andrew Wardle has gotten an implant, and he is going to be able to have sex here pretty soon. They're doing this is going to sound terrible, but all the things that need to be done in advance to make sure it works okay. He knows how to use it. You know what I mean? He can't just come out of surgery and go, all right, let's go.
So so we're in beta testing here.
Beta testing, yes.
Okay, isn't that the term or something like that?
Yeah, okay. It's a thing.
That's a thing?
this is a huge experiment that could benefit all kinds of people, not just people born like this. And he is dedicating a lot of his time now to dealing with people that have injuries or a condition such as his. He said, some are suicidal. He goes, I volunteer to try to help others through it and all that.
Because most things are on this planet to procreate.
Yep.
And so, being able to wrap your brain around the fact that your body's not going to do that, you lose a part of, why living beings exist.
Yeah.
You can, a lot of, women who lose their breasts, some are perfectly fine with I'm not putting them back. I just don't need to deal with this.
Right.
Others I've lost a part of my femaleness or having a hysterectomy or guys, stuff like that. You lose what is it that makes you male? What is it that makes you female?
Yeah.
And, if you can get your outward to help with what your brain's what your brain is saying, the mental health aspects of that are are amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know, 2 people in my life that have had double mastectomies, and they both dealt with it in completely different ways. Mm-hmm. One was really fine with the decision and has remained fine, even though she had to go back and have some corrective work done later because whatever. Another one went into it horrified, came out of it horrified, and has never really quite, recovered. And it's interesting because the one that's fine, says, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but she's actually said, I can't relate to why she can't get past this. So it's really interesting. And she's the only one that's allowed to say stuff like that because she knows exactly,
because everyone's afraid. It's like how the individual brain is wired to think about how they perceive themselves. It's going through there. Honestly, if I had a couple of lumps, they'd go. They would go, and I wouldn't bother with a reconstruction. Maybe if I was younger, I don't know, and I reserve the right to change my mind if, by the way, these go away because it's a really nice rack. But I'm just not sure after watching a lot of folks go through the reconstruction and do that sort of stuff that I would want to go through that for aesthetic purposes. To me, I don't know if that would be important, But then again, it could be that it happens, and I go, well, actually, I'm going to miss them.
Yeah.
Because I can't comprehend it until it happens to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and it's all super personal. The other one, too, the one who was fine with the whole thing, was really interesting. She declines to get involved in a lot of the October pink celebration things. And in fact, she had
a lot of that's money making.
Well, and her, she was in an office a few years back. They were going crazy, and then they found out that she had been through it, and she finally sat him down and said, "You know what? I am over this. This is my past." And
she doesn't define herself by the fact that something happened once. I stubbed my toe. Do I stub my? Do I define myself over that?
Right.
Yes, I know that's going through there, but that's how that person is.
Yes,
that's fun.
And I've had some people say, "Well, that's selfish of her," and I'm like, I think it's completely up to her.
Yeah,
I'm not going to judge.
She gets to choose.
Yes, ma'am.
You just go it through there.
Yeah. We've. This one's for you, Megan. This is the weekly sex robot.
Sex?
Well, actually, this is Lumidolls. Now, this is a sex robot brothel. These are popping up. And this one...
the cleanliness of this.
I know.
Okay, now mind you, it's not like humans are particularly germ-free. Okay, I'm just saying that there's just... Why does the cleanliness of a sex doll skeeve me out more than another human being that could be...
a veritable petri dish.
Yeah, I know. It's not rational. And I'm generally a rational person.
You are very rational.
But the... sorry.
Yeah. Well, Lumidolls is doing very well. And they were founded in 2017 in Spain. And they're opening their 3rd venue. So, they're...
Is it just female dolls at this point, or do they have male?
This one, I believe, is thus far only female. A lot of, because we talk about sex robots like every week, right? And the male ones are really, from what I've gathered over the weeks, those are really still not quite out there yet.
Yeah,
They've perfected the female
Yeah,
dolls.
I mean, they have that one that was really good, but I remember looking at the picture of it going, oh, that's more scary than sexy. And I mean, honestly, and I can look at some of the female dolls and go, okay, that's fairly attractive. Okay, so my daughter goes, I'm hearing all this noise. They're watching a movie last night, right? And I go, is that The Incredibles? Because you know, she goes, no, Baywatch, because there was some music, there's some dramatic music and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh god. And so the folks go home, and she goes, oh, come down, watch this part. So I go downstairs. She goes to the beginning of the movie, and it's the part where Zac Efron and The Rock are having a competition, and they're both shirtless. So, and then she goes on back to the part where she moves, and then so I'm down there for maybe 10 minutes watching this, and in that 10 minutes, for the rest of my life, my brain is going to hate me, but my eyeballs are going to be really happy. But she's like, is that real? Because we're looking at Zac Efron, and then we had to Google his workout for it, because I'm like, oh my god,
yeah, right.
And I know he went through some drug and booze stuff too, so it was good that like doing this sort of stuff. But I'm just like, I think he has a 12-pack. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure how that's physical. And you're doing this stuff, and it's filmed in a way that the shit he's doing is not a stunt guy.
No.
He did that, but so like I said, so I know it's the right. So I'm like, my brain is fairly happy, and now Zac Efron's 30, so I'm perfectly reasonable looking at him.
You can overlook
towards 28 when he did
gross.
this, yeah. And but I was fascinated. Sorry, it's segue there, but the eyeballs. That was so. If you want to watch that movie, just put it on in the background. Don't have any sound. If you listen to the dialogue, your brain will strangle yourself. 10 minutes.
Okay.
But if you just want to, and then I was fascinated by one of the actresses and the boobs, and I'm looking at my daughter, because and I'm like, how much tape is in there?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fascinating. I mean, if you just want to give your eyeballs a little vacation, put this movie on, but do not turn on the sound.
Okay.
Just don't.
That is Colleen's PSA. For the week.
There's my movie review of a 2-year-old movie. There you go.
I love it. I love it. So, allergies, they suck. Oh. And you have them, right?
I actually don't have any allergies to your traditional things. Cats, dogs, plants, dust, crap like that.
Just the seasonal
but chemical,
crap?
pollen. I have nothing. No. Chemicals in general. Scents, chlorine in pools, stuff like that. You can't test for this. There's millions of this stuff, and I'm sensitive to that. I don't go swimming pools anymore. I do that, and me and dairy don't get along anymore. But that's not really an allergy, But I don't, which is why my asthma was undiagnosed for like 35 years. Because you know how rare it is for someone to not have allergies
and have asthma.
And have asthma.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, pollen's been pretty bad this year. And there have been different spikes, and some people, like this poor woman, 20-year-old Lois White, her allergies were so bad that she could hardly leave the house. She would have to call in sick. Antihistamines weren't even beginning to cut it. So her boyfriend says, "I've got it. I know exactly what the cure is, and it's sex is the best cure ever for hay fever." So he offered to come over and, get a blowjob, because that has.
Okay, well, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she put it out on Twitter, 29,000 likes, mostly guys. Supporting this, but she dumped him anyway. She was clearly crabby.
No. Okay. The poor gal can barely breathe. Yeah. Her nose is running like crazy. Yeah. Her eyeballs she probably wants to claw her eyeballs out, and her boyfriend wants a blowjob.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Gonna cure the hay fever. So I gotta give the guy an E for effort. I do. I mean, it's.
Oh, I mean, it has been known that orgasms and sex and stuff like that are good for mood enhancement, and it can help with migraines and stuff like that because of the endorphins and things going there. But I'm pretty sure that allergies is no. There's nothing about that.
This isn't a judgment thing about this next story, because we see these periodically, but I don't know. This is so ishy to me. Gal named Haley Liana basically is on this particular site, and it's called Illicit something. I'll find it for you here in the story somewhere. It's buried. Basically, she flies all over the world in a jet set lifestyle funded by rich married people cheating on their wives. And
I always figure if someone is dumb enough to shell out a bunch of money to fly you around for some arm candy, I just, people say, well, it gives women a bad name. I said, well, no, actually, I think it gives, guys a bad name too. I think it's equal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she says,
there's a lot of sugar daddy. Is this sugar baby girls?
Sugar babies. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, and she likes the sex with, she thinks it's better with older men. She's 36, and so she likes the older guy. But here's the thing. This
isn't going to last too much longer at 36.
Well,
I don't mean to be sexist here, but let's just be honest about how things are done.
Yeah. Well, she insists she's helping their long-suffering wives. You want to know how? She says, well, they've either given up on sex entirely or they're cheating themselves. So that's how she sort of gets by that little morality sticky wicket that some people have an issue with.
Well, honestly, some of these really, any marriage could be a convenience. And I think a lot of power couples or really rich folks may only be together because they got used to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's that way. I've been watching a lot of British TV. I've been home. I had a tree fall. I had lots of work on my house and different things. And so, been at home a lot playing repair hostage and all that. So I found this old British TV series called Midsummer Murders. I'm not even sure how it's pronounced because most of the time I'm not listening to it with the sound on. And I just laugh because I'm like, if there's one thing I'm noticing about British TV is that, and I'm saying this in the best possible way, ordinary average people have sex.
Yeah.
And have affairs. These are not, you compare this TV show to any U.S. TV show, and the folks, they're older, they're more regular looking. Yeah. There's nothing that says that these two people would be having an affair. You know what I mean? Whereas everyone on let's say Private Practice, everyone was good looking.
Yeah.
And not that these folks are not good looking, they're just, ordinary. They're not just super good. I was like, wow, this and they're like old people being devious and having sex.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, I'm enjoying this because it's just like old fucks having sex.
Isn't that awesome?
It's spectacular.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Once again, I'm just tangent. I'm tangent woman today.
No, that's okay. And I'll just tell you, I've found some really great British TV lately. So yeah, I'm all over it.
Yeah. Oh, and the amount of tea drinking, I'm like, it's obviously real. I didn't know. I just always thought it was a stereotype, but it's obviously based a lot in reality.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's illicitencounters.com, which is where Haley Leanna finds her things. And just two more notes about this story. Here's a one thing she has changed her breast size. I'm trying to get my head around what this looks like. 28B to 28FF. Okay. So they may size differently in the UK, but a B cup to
I'm running like a double D. It's going through there. So it's bigger than me, but
it must look hilarious.
Yep. If she's only if the undercarriage there is only 28. Therein lies the problem because I'm running about a. Oh God,
she would tip
40
over.
Something. Yeah,
she would tip over. Mm-hmm. But here's a quote from Haley: "Who thought it was a good idea to tie yourself to one person in your 20s and then only have sex with them for the next 60 years?"
Well, I certainly didn't. I still haven't. Not that I'm. Although I've got one person and I'm perfectly happy with that. But it's certainly
So because they can just never let the royal shit go. They had to, in order to write an article about hand holding, it had to start with what Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's hand holding means. Okay, and
I'm curious here because I'm a big hand holder. We hold hands a lot.
Okay, well then this is for you. There was a study actually that was published rather in Current Psychology. All right, so we're going to hit the different hand holding stereotypes, but Prince Harry will have his hand on top with his palm facing downwards. And according to that, it says the prince is more dominant in the relationship and takes charge over Meghan. Okay. So, anyway, so let's read these. There's the one finger hold. If you prefer to interlock just one pinky instead of the whole hand, this can be a sign that you value your independence.
It also could be that it's really effing hot out.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. Okay, pulling hand to one side. If the couple is holding hands but the palms are dangling more towards one problem, this could be a sign of control. The one that has pulled the other hands more to their side could be the decision maker. Okay, which is what actually Carl does to me when we sleep. He'll get my arm and just tuck it like under, like a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Then there's the palm hold. When a pair locks hands but doesn't interlock the fingers, it could indicate a sign of affection but a lack of sexual passion. His fingers are so much bigger than mine that it's uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, you can't get the hand. Yeah, I mean,
his hands are huge compared to mine. So there's a whole article, you know, I think
it has to do with how big your hands are, how little your hands are.
Yeah.
You can't, yeah.
His hands are so huge.
Or, you know, you're dealing with carpal tunnel. There's a certain way you're holding hands, too. And I know that because I do.
To come up with that.
Well, I do because we're a hand holder and I can't hold hands like we used to because it bends my wrist in the wrong way. It's like, ow.
Hey, your alma mater, the University of Minnesota.
Yep.
Medical school. You know, they are delving into a study of aging and sexuality.
I saw that it was June 30th. As I'm sitting at home, I'll run around with no power at my house. Did a lot of reading that day, and I ran across this article. It's been a couple weeks now, but when I read through it, it's just like the amount of knowledge that we don't have about sexuality as you're aging, or about actually sexuality in general. But finally, we have enough old folks that they're finally going, hey, I'm having this problem, but there's no data to help folks with it. So they're just running around. So it was a fascinating article. It's, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was the June 30th Star Tribune.
It was the Star Tribune. I don't have the date here, but it's Eli Coleman is the director of the university's program on human sexuality. And he said, you know, everybody's living longer. And, you know, we're going to study the post-reproductive years. And, you know, and like you said, there's so little really out there overall, but particularly in this area. And they said, you know, we want to prepare future physicians, which I think is just super awesome.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, folks, I do feel that folks are slowly, you know, not suffering in silence for whatever issues they might have. And, you know, and possibly this is a handy thing that Viagra did, because if guys can do it longer, then some of them actually, you know, still love their spouses that are the same age as they are.
Yeah.
And so you're working together as a couple, and you need to know about what things are going through there. You don't just, you know, I'm done having children, so I'm done having sex. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's just been really, I mean, we do a lot with just women trying to find the right lube to help, because sometimes it's as simple as that. Other times there's other issues going on with fibroids or vulvinitis, or it could be a cyst, an ovarian cyst. There's a whole bunch, and if you don't like the answer your doctor gave you, go find another one.
Yeah.
To find someone that takes your discomfort seriously.
Yeah. Well, in a long time, and that's
I've always been lucky, and so I really had no idea how many women, I mean, guys too, but I know have been their pain or their issues have been just you're not feeling well, or it's hormones, or it's just period pain, or this or that. I mean, I had horrible pain as a teenager for cramps, and we figured, and they took it seriously. I found out they just have the parts, and I got and I got a bad rap, but there wasn't anything there. But they looked for cysts and they looked for fibroids. They did not just say, here's take an extra Advil. Actually, that was prescription at the time, but still.
Yeah.
They took it seriously. I found someone to do that. I can't even imagine being gaslighted and thinking, it's all in your head.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
You hurt, you find someone that will listen to you.
Well, and now it's a lot easier to do that. In years past, the profession was not as customer service friendly as it is today, which is a good thing.
And even if they were looking at a computer when they're talking to you, you can take a moment and stare at them until they turn their head at you and ask a question. And a lot of folks have scribes now, and I don't mind, because I'm not that, so they're taking the notes so that the physician does not have to. And you can look at someone. Yep. And because they can notice, because if they're looking at you, if you're looking at them, you can see that there's a pause where you're like, well, did you want to ask something else? Or they can ask you, did you want to ask something else? So I'm really liking that sort of scribe thing, in the room.
For sure.
I was going through there because I'm managing 3 different my charts, because I have some folks with Fairview and some folks with Alina and some folks are independent. Oh, okay. And so I make sure, that everyone's talking to another.
Yeah.
But, that's me. I'm sort of pushy and logical. Well, not everybody is.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome, because I get frustrated and then I say, fuck it.
Yeah.
So I could take a cue from you.
Sometimes I do. I have to give it a little bit and then go back and go, okay, let's start again.
So let's start over for sure. Going back to the Haley Leanna story, we've got another sex expert from Australia saying, you know what? Marriage is for idiots. It's not natural to bed the same person over and over. And mind you, this is a person that was married and divorced by the age of 30. She's now 34 and running around just saying marriage sucks. You can read the whole entire article, but she claims it's not in our DNA. So she's taking her cause to her practice and the world. Do you have any thoughts?
Oh, marriage sucks for her, but it may not suck for others. I don't understand why. I mean, I don't think marriage is, you know, and a long-term relationship is for everyone, like certain religions and different people and other politicians want it to be. But I don't think it sucks either. I don't, you know, we are once again sort of like being wired differently. You know, just find the person that's wired close to you.
Yeah,
because you do have to have something. You know, if you're in a marriage with someone, if you're in a relationship with someone that does not have the same, you know, things that you can. One person wants an open relationship and does it. I don't care how much you love that person. It ain't gonna work.
Right.
You got to be thinking the same thing, you know, it's going through there.
Well, you got to let everybody kind of do what's right for them. And like, here's a quote from her. She says, "Weddings are the utter antithesis of the leaps we've made toward gender equality in the past decade." Now, one thing I will say, I did do the whole traditional wedding thing the first time I got married. I hated the experience. I was uncomfortable. So I do not understand this whole bridezilla thing. I want to be a princess. Look at me, look at me, look at me. But I found that was just like whatever, which is why the second time around, this is going to look a lot differently. And it's private and it's, you know, whatever. But there are boatloads of women. Like, look at the size of the wedding industry that love this. They want it. They embrace it. And who am I to tell them because I didn't like it that it's wrong?
Yeah. And, you know, and it's fine because a lot of times marriage ends. It can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. Because maybe two people just said, well, you know, it worked. We had some great kids or we did this or that, but now it's time to move on. Yeah. It doesn't mean that, you know, that either, I mean, okay, some people can be evil if they're, you know, I'm not saying, but there are times where, man, it's moved on. It's not an awful thing.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on, you know, because, I mean, I've got, you know, plenty of folks that, you know, are friends that are divorced or acquaintances or folks, and then plenty of folks that have been married for almost 30 years now.
Yep. I know a lot of really happy people. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of marriage, I'm going to leave us all with an excerpt from a book that I've got to read.
Okay.
And probably people who like our show would want to read. The book is called This Is Going to Hurt. And it's it's by Dr. Adam Kay, and it's a compilation of his most memorable career moments. And the highlight for today.
Oh, please say he's a urologist or proctologist or what is? Or
it's obstetrician and gyno.
Oh, okay.
A woman who hatched a creative plan for proposing to her boyfriend. And by the way, apparently there's some tradition on February 29th. It's called the leap year tradition.
Oh, yeah.
That when it's okay for the women to propose.
Yeah, they even made a bad movie about it called Leap Year.
Okay. Well, she was trying to do this. So she puts a ring in a chocolate Kinder egg. So I'm guessing it's probably like a Cadbury egg or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, mind you, you can, you know, buy a rifle for a child in this country, but you can't give them a chocolate egg with little toys inside.
Well, she put a ring in there and put it in her vagina. And it went awry. She ended up in the emergency room.
No. How was he just like poke at it with his dick and say, hey, what's this? And then go digging for it?
You know, the idea was that she decided to take advantage of tradition and propose. So she got this idea. She would suggest some finger work. He would discover it, retrieve it, and then she would go down on one knee and presumably him go down on him after.
Okay, they were going to work with some mutual masturbation. Okay, they were going to work with... I still had the microphone away from me because I didn't want to laugh too loud in the thing.
So the doctor, this is his remark. He goes, equal parts unexpected, disgusting, and I suppose romantic was his take on the thing. But apparently it didn't go as planned. The egg ended up rotating itself lengthwise inside. And here's the quote. He goes, no amount of shugling from either of them would get this particular goose to lay that golden egg. And she was so keen to maintain the surprise, she wouldn't tell him what she'd done or why. He's just like, what the fuck is up there, right? So they went to the hospital. He delivered the egg using a pair of sponge holding forceps. And then they gave the man the thing. He popped the question, and he did, thankfully, after all of that, say yes.
Oh, I just... No.
Okay.
Oh, that is so wrong.
So there it is.
It's so entertaining.
Yeah.
Oh, and I bet there was
see that book.
And I bet there was one hell of a yeast infection after that too.
Oh, but equal parts disgusting and romantic, I suppose. So I can tell this guy's got a wicked sense of humor. So I want to read it. Mm-hmm. So any fantasy gifts news that we need to know about?
We're still going on the we're at all the stores. The bins are out. We're collecting tampons and pads.
Okay.
And a former employee actually went on Amazon.com and sent 1,000 pads. So they arrived here the other day. So we're going to be collecting them in each of the stores through September 3rd. Okay. And this is for this organization passes them out to homeless shelters and battered women's shelters and refugee centers and just places where, because pads are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
And it's just not something, I'm not sure you can use SNAP benefits on them. I just, you would think that in 2018 that this wouldn't be such an issue, but it is. And it's we're getting a really nice response from it. So that's going on. I gave up. Finally, it took me... Okay, I'm a real soft heart when it comes to certain things, and the person who was building our website had a medical emergency. Oh, no. And I kept waiting, and I kept waiting, and I kept waiting, and I finally found another web designer, and we're working, finally getting that shit together. Okay. And I just was trying so hard. Yep. I really wanted to be there, and I didn't want to, I kept thinking the person was going to get better, and it just didn't happen. Yeah. And so we'll get that. We're working with a partner on that, and I'll be very excited for that. We're going, but I'm mostly excited. You can, I'm sure Meghan will be posting it again on Twitter, Instagram, the Facebook page, the Great Northern Sex Cast. But like I said, just next time you're at Target or wherever you shop, or Walmart or Walgreens, or you're on Amazon and you're buying stuff, you can get some pads and tampons, drop them off at any Fantasy Gifts, and then every time you drop something off, you'll be entered in a prize drawing.
Perfect. Well, have a great week, everybody. We'll be back at you next week.